Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Hi, I'm Barbara Sisson. I'm a professor in the biology department, and my co-host today is Professor Ned Gannon in the English department. And welcome to another Catalyst 300 presentation today. Catalyst 300 is designed for our students to take a big problem and find an innovative solution to it. And the challenge that this group took on is women and children's health. And so they're going to tell you about how their solution addresses that issue. And if you are the first time joining us today for our Catalyst Day presentations, I wanted to give you an idea of how the format will work. The students will give their presentation, and then there'll be some time for questions at the end. And our questions will be administered in the chat. So if you have a question at any point during the presentation, feel free to type it in either during the presentation or at the end, and we will make sure that it is answered. And if you are not one of the presenters and not speaking at that moment, if you can mute yourself, that would be great, so we don't have any extra background noise. That is really helpful. So with that, I would like to introduce our group who's talking about protecting health and safety through girls in education in India.
All right, so our topic is protecting health and safety through girls' education in India. I am Ben Worth.
I'm Katie Grammett.
I'm Madeline Pino.
I'm Paige.
And I'm Braden Kobus.
And first off, our problem statement is 4 in every 10 girls are not receiving a proper education in India past high school. This has contributed to a lack of available education in the area. Our focus is to improve on this education system. And this in turn will have a major impact on their health, as currently it is kind of a negative impact on their health as it stands. Some contributing factors to how these girls are affected by a lack of education is, first off, is they often get married at a very young age, oftentimes in their middle teens. This is often attributed to harmful gender biases that these girls face. Most don't go further on in their education past high school due to high tuition costs. Oftentimes, the families cannot afford to send their children to school. And with the gender biases that these girls face, the boys are more likely to be sent off and provide for their family. Because they don't go to school, they're more susceptible to health and safety risks, such as more likely to be a victim of domestic violence, as well as an increased maternal mortality rate, as well as due to this, living a life in poverty because there is only a single income household, because these girls don't end up getting jobs. The area that we are focusing on is Uttar Pradesh, and it is highlighted in this map in red.
So I'm going to be discussing why girls' lack of education is an issue and why it needs to be addressed. So one of the reasons that girls do not receive an education is because some parents are concerned that sending their daughters to school threatens their purity in the form of potential interactions with undesirable people and other possible threats to a girl's physical safety, such as an attack or a kidnapping, which in turn threatens a potential marriage because the girl is somehow damaged or impure. However, a reason to educate girls is that a study done by Ackerson and colleagues found that educated women are less likely to experience domestic abuse and are generally able to achieve a level of autonomy that uneducated girls cannot. Another reason why girls are not educated is because some families don't see educating their daughters as a good investment, because their daughter will join the husband's family once she's married and take care of his parents rather than her own parents later in life. However, when girls are not educated, India as a whole is hurt because only 25% of India's workforce are women. So India is not utilizing a large portion of its human resources. And a lack of women in the workforce also hurts the women on an individual level because it makes them dependent on whoever is bringing in an income, which is likely their husband. As I alluded to earlier, one of the reasons girls' education stops is so that they can be married. Marrying off a daughter has economic advantages for her family in the form of a dowry, and that the family is no longer financially responsible for her. It is also a part of cultural tradition in some areas in India, which are just two of the reasons why the practice of child marriage continues. However, education and child marriage are negatively correlated. So the longer a girl is in school, the less likely she is to be married. The graphic shows child marriage percentage rates in India by education level, with the illiterate or least educated group having the highest rates of child marriage and the more educated groups having lower rates. While there's a downward trend in child marriages from 2001, which is represented by the blue triangles, to 2000 or to 2011, the red triangles, child marriage is still an issue today, especially during this pandemic, because families are trying to ease their financial burden even more so than normal by marrying off their daughters. And then while marrying a daughter may be financially beneficial to her family, it is generally not as beneficial for her, because when young girls get married, their education tends to stop because they are no longer a student but a wife and are expected to fulfill her duties in the household. One of those duties is to have children. So studies have shown that when girls are married young, they tend to have more pregnancies. And these numerous pregnancies have global implications because more pregnancies typically means more children, which causes exponential population increases in a world that is already struggling to meet the demands of its population. However, more pregnancies does not always mean more children because young, uneducated women tend to have higher child and infant mortality rates than other demographics. Like child marriage, infant and child mortality are also negatively correlated with education. So as illustrated in the graph, infant and the longer a girl is in school, the less likely her child is to die prematurely. This issue is particularly important in the region we've chosen to focus on, Uttar Pradesh, because it is one of the highest rates of infant and child mortality in India, and India as a whole has one of the highest rates of infant and child mortality in the world.
Our existing solutions that we chose are still active today. They are the RTE Act and the Malala Fund. The RTE Act, also known as the Rights to Education Act, was established in 2009, stating that the government of India must provide free education for students between the ages of 6 and 14. The law also states that students will receive a quality of education. The schools will be providing educational opportunities as well as proper facilities such as bathrooms, classrooms, and other work areas. India is one of the 135 countries that are under this law, and this government-funded program's main goal is to remove poverty, as it is one of the largest barriers when struggling to receive a proper education. Comparing what the law has stated in 2009 until now, it has been over a decade and there still has been little impact to provide the proper education as this program promises to these children in India. In fact, the stock-taking report in 2014 says across the country, less than 10% of the schools actually comply with the RTE Act as it sets their standards. It is also important to recognize that the Rights to Education Act only allows education up to the age of 14. 14 is around the age that students will be attending middle school. During this time, it is a crucial part for students to receive a proper education because this is such a large part of development at that age. Once a student exceeds the age limit for the program, they will then have to pay for school fees such as uniforms and books. Many students will not continue their education when they age out of the program due to many reasons. Many of these students' families do not have the funds to continue their child's education. In other cases, some of the students, primarily girls, are preparing their role as a housewife at the age of 14. A study has found that child marriage and education both negatively affect each other. Low levels of education result in child marriage, and early child marriage puts an end to their education at a young age. RTE Act does not address the child marriage issues and the impact it has on education because the RTE Act does not provide future education and addresses the educational issues at hand. It is not a sufficient solution for the situation India is in. The Malala Fund is one of the globally recognized programs to aim to change the reality for girls attending school around the world. The Malala Fund was started by Malala Yousafzai, a young girl in Pakistan who was shot on her way to school. India is one of the 7 countries that need help, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, Lebanon, Turkey, Nigeria, and Brazil. The Malala Fund has a very simple system of operation. It is primarily online, accepting donations, and those donations will later become grants distributed by the organization. The Malala Fund dedicates its grants to those who work hard in the community that strive to help out the educational system and make it better for the students. This organization is one of the largest in the world and is operated by somebody who has been deeply impacted. Although the Malala Fund has provided financial resources, the organization itself is very hands-off. The organization provides the resources for some to make the change instead of the organization doing that change itself. Since we have narrowed down our solution to India, we are able to help specific regions that are in need. Our changes to India will be providing resources and providing solutions to the challenges India faces in the educational system. We appreciate everything that the Malala Fund has done to provide a voice for those in India, but we want to work with the people side by side and dig deeper to the roots with the issue of our solution.
Our applied innovation will be a 3-part solution that will work towards creating a more accessible path to education for girls who otherwise may not have this opportunity. First, we will be sourcing technology for the participants through US-based tech drives, so the girls will be able to participate in the program cost-free. We will then recruit university students, primarily in India, who will serve as the tutors for our program. We will do this through sister school partnerships so we can be sure that tutors are fully trained and mentored through their professors. The tutors will receive course credit and/or student teaching hours depending on their specific needs and academic background. Finally, the girls will be able to learn from home asynchronously through online tutoring, which we believe will be able to mitigate the issues they face when they receive an education. They'll be able to find flexibility between their academic futures and commitments in the domestic sphere. To start, our program will consist of 25 girls in the Uttar Pradesh region between the ages of 12 and 18 because that's when most of them start to leave school. Over time, we're hoping to expand to reach a much larger pool of participants across the nation. However, by starting small, we are able to better focus our attention on each individual and ensure they're getting as much as possible out of the program. We will be looking for girls who actively want to participate in our program. We will not overwhelm them by force them into a program like this. There is currently a movement for girls in India who want to continue to learn, but because of their circumstances, they're unable to do so. And these are precisely the girls that we want to help. We understand that there will be girls who want to continue with their culture and tradition and will want to leave school early. And we will not be insinuating that this is wrong in any way, and we'll be more than accepting of their decision. Tech drives are becoming an increasingly common fundraising strategy, especially in the United States, and we're hoping to expand this to our region in India. Essentially, US families will be donating their unwanted technology, and we'll be screening and cleaning the devices to make sure they work effectively for the students who will be receiving them. This device will be the student's primary source to access our program. At the start, we will need devices for at least 25 girls. We'll also be partnering with US-based tech companies who may need to provide any additional devices or resources. Since the region we chose is relatively modernized, we will not be facing major issues such as power lines or running electrical into the students' homes that we may have seen in small rural villages. We will also have a headquarters in Lucknow, a major city in Uttar Pradesh, which will be able to any issues that may arise with technology or otherwise. The people working here will initially be on a volunteer basis to keep our overhead costs extremely low, as with the donation sources. And with time, we hope to hire a full-time staff. So as previously mentioned, we'll be creating sister school partnerships with universities in India, which will help us develop a tutor base and provide connections between our students and potential future schools to attend. The tutors will receive course credit and student teaching hours for their work depending on their areas of study. We will be looking for tutors who study a wide range of subjects, not education, as we hope to provide as many unique course offerings as possible. The curriculum we have developed is based on the standards for India's public school system. As I will discuss in further detail, we will have core course offerings as well as several elective courses. So our program will follow the academic calendar that Indian schools and universities use, which runs from April through March with the summer break. Since our students and tutors are on the same schedule, this will work best for accommodating both their needs. We will employ tutors who speak Hindi and English, since those are the two official languages of India, as well as Urdu, which is a regional language. Courses will be offered in all of these languages for students' language preferences. We will offer courses in math, science, language, technology, social studies, and art to follow the public school curriculum. And then something interesting that India does that we will also use in our program is the idea of elective streams. So at the age of 16, students are encouraged to customize their academics based on their future career plans. So for example, if a student wishes to become a doctor, they can take more science courses instead of social studies and arts. And that by doing this, they'll be more engaged in their programs and they'll want to return to school. So some areas for success. Some areas that show are successful is first the flexibility it provides in scheduling to change of what education looks like and what it can be. Girls will be able to learn when they have the chance while still balancing their responsibilities at home. We hope that this will help families to encourage them to return back to school so they know that they can strive for something greater than themselves through their education. Beyond this, our solution is unique, and there's not been a similar program like this in the area. We have a great opportunity to change for these girls through our program. Finally, our main goal is to have girls return to school. We want to decrease the rates of uneducation, which will be clearly visible after 10 years is released. And one benefit of education is the access to resources that these students may not have at their underfunded. With the internet and the technology that they will be given, they'll be able to learn from texts and materials that they may in their traditional schools, because a lot of the materials they use are very old because they aren't able to constantly be replacing them. And then beyond this, the one-on-one capabilities program will allow for girls to tailor their learning to their specific needs. And this will also all the help that they deserve. Students will be able to meet with their tutors through meetings they set up through our online academic platform, which will be beneficial to both of their busy schedules. Also have access to networking opportunities in the form of other students in the program, the university students who will be tutoring, and the advisors at the sister schools. Finally, there is currently a push for more online education in India today because they finally have full access to a lot of technology and internet connections that they didn't have before. But a lot of their workforce does not have the necessary skills to use this technology. So by educating girls through this online platform, we are providing them with crucial skills that will make them competitive in India's workforce. Beyond this, we're helping India as a whole become more fully modernized, and we're helping them stay competitive on the global market, which contributes to the economic benefits of our solution.
So in terms of sustainability, there's going to be two major factors in making this program sustainable. The first thing will be obtaining both computers and tutors. And as Peyton said, since we're starting off with a group of 25 girls, this is being done so that we can not only obtain the amount of computers through donations that we need, but hopefully a surplus. And then with this small amount, it means the amount of tutors needed will be lower. So that way we can build connections with these schools and build notoriety for our program. So then once we are able to expand, we both have the computers and we will have the necessary tutors. The second part was maintaining the quality of computers. The city of Lucknow built an IT city with the sole purpose of providing education and training in IT jobs, and the city is shown on your left. This shows that there will be an increasing amount of people in the area that will be able to help the girls with any tech problems with computers not working or anything like that should they arise. In terms of impacts, since, as Peyton said, we're not building any power lines or anything like that, there are no real impacts on the environment. In terms of social impacts, the main one is the quality of education given to girls that otherwise would not be able to have access to it. And this has side effects. Some of the side effects, as stated before, the increased education leads to lower rates of child marriage, which also has lower rates of infant mortality. And then hopefully this will lead to more gender inequality because the lack of education is no longer there since girls are now being educated. In terms of economic impacts, with a higher level of education usually means a higher chance of getting jobs. And as Katie said, there's only 25% of India's workforce is women. So hopefully over time, as more girls are getting educated and entering the workforce, they will be able to increase the GDP and lower poverty rates. And then in conclusion, we plan on creating an online education system with the purpose of providing an increased quality of life for girls in India with reduced rates of child marriage and also reduced rates of child and infant mortality. We plan on doing this by using donated computers and using college students as tutors.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you can enter them into chat and we will make sure that they are addressed. I'll give you a second to think about that.
Did you mention who will gain access to Wi-Fi? How the girls will gain access to Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so that's something that we talked about when we were talking about our connections with the US-based companies. If the girls don't have access to something like that at home, that would be part of our partnership. So they would get the device and then the company would be able to provide any routers or things like that through our partnership.
Other questions from our audience?
How did you all choose this area of the world to focus on?
So we chose to focus on India specifically because I think we kind of started at the Malala idea where she was not able to safely access education. And when we started looking at the health implications of a lack of education, one of the more troubling spots in the world was the region we chose to focus on, which is Uttar Pradesh in India, because of their high rates of child marriage and child and infant mortality. So we decided to spend a lot of time focusing on that area.
You had mentioned that there are movements and groups of girls interested in continuing to pursue education. How will you connect with these groups, and what will happen if you have more interest than you have resources for?
So we talked about some groups that are currently trying to build more access. A lot of these are kind of spearheaded by teachers themselves. So the issue is that the schools are there and the teachers want to help them, but it's more on an individual basis, like the girls and their families don't have the resources to kind of make it happen. It's more individual than per se a unified move. And then we're reaching out by our program to these individual girls, and by doing so, able to kind of help tailor their educational needs to our specific program and do it again more individually than on a huge basis. And definitely it would be awesome if we could have more than 25 girls right away that want to start, and it would really just take us being able to find the technology for it. Because if needed, we can have as many girls on the program because it's all asynchronous. All of the lessons would be there. It's just when they access them. So the bigger issue would be getting them the technology. So as much technology as we could get from the drives would be how many girls that could, in theory, participate, if that answers. So we would just need to get more technology is really the issue.
Other questions from our audience?
If you're reaching out to individual girls, do you have a method for choosing who to reach out to?
This is something that we kind of talked about as far as like a marketing strategy. We just mainly, we talked about doing it on an application-based process. So they send in like a little bit about themselves, their age, their current like academic background, the resources that they currently have at home. And then from there, we would just determine who would best fit the program in terms of the access to the technology and the resources that they currently have, and then really being at the prime age for when girls start to leave school. So we want to make as big of an impact as possible. So things like that is really be on an individual basis based on the application.
We have time for one more question if we have any other questions. All right. Well, let us thank our group and talking about their project for girls' education in India. And I thank everyone for joining us today. So thank you.